Well, the wiretapping saga shows no signs of slowing down as a search for a potential, quote, smoking gun is speeding up. House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes reaffirming that the NSA very soon is going to turn over information to his committee that, quote, will show incidental collection of the Trump transition team's communications. In fact, he addressed it earlier this morning with reporters. Take a listen.
There was no wiretapping of Trump Tower. That didn't happen. There are reasons to unmask names. I can tell you without question, at least some of what I've seen, I don't know what that reason would be. It looks like it was all legal surveillance from what I can tell, but until we get the documents, I won't know for sure. I think there are just questions in those reports that I wonder does reach that threshold of foreign intelligence, and then you have to ask why were names unmasked.
Joining me now, Bryan, Wright, and Jim Hanson. Jim, there seems to be a few things that are coming out of this thing for me. I think the unmasking part is the most compelling. The idea that the intelligence community would actually violate someone's personal rights, it seems really scary and unnerving. Everyone's on pins and needles looking for the smoking gun that could connect perhaps the Obama administration with surveillance of Donald Trump or his team. And just where we are with our intelligence community, I think we're all losing confidence on. Can you help me with any of them?
Charles, I think you're exactly right. There was a giant attempt to smear Donald Trump and his campaign staff and transition people as pawns of the Russians, that there was some giant conspiracy going on. You know, I kind of picture Ben Rhodes as Wile E. Coyote, super genius, with his Acme Russia conspiracy generator, and it blew up in his face. They found no conspiracies, and now they got caught abusing our intelligence systems for political purposes. This is going to bite them hard.
Bryan, Wright, during the hearing earlier in the week, we learned that the NSA, which originally had this ability to quote-unquote unmask an American who somehow became caught up in the surveillance of a foreign entity through a FISA warrant, that was given to a whole bunch of other people. FBI, the Department of Justice, it's just a whole bunch of people. And some people say that was just one of the key parts of this whole thing. By allowing so many folks the ability to do that and then leak that information to the press, that was one way of committing some sort of sabotage against the Trump administration.
I think at the highest levels of the former administration, I think it's possible, because if you look at it from a political perspective, 8 years of very hard work was going to be going out the door once President Trump and the Republicans took over the House and the Senate. I will say this, that I think that it is very clear that starting last summer, there has been a very thoughtful investigation, probably based on the dossier, but also just based on the fact that President Trump, a lot of his associates, were engaging with different people in the Ukraine and Russia, and they're going to be picked up by the NSA. That's normal. The challenge, the issue that I have with this whole thing is very clearly somebody in the intelligence community, numbers of people, have done something very horrific, which is taking the information, the unmasking, and starting to leak that. That is a crime. Now, I happen to be a Democrat, and I may not like President Trump, but before I'm a Democrat, I'm an American. And what the intelligence officials did by leaking that unmasked information is horrifically wrong, and it is a crime.
Let me ask you, Jim, the smoking gun that apparently is going to come from the NSA, do you have any thoughts on what that might be? Because it feels like it's going to be, if not conclusive, certainly provide enough information that will justify some of the anxieties that President Trump had as a candidate and so far as a president.
The bottom line is somebody asked for this to happen. Somebody's name is going to be named as the one who said, I want these names unmasked, and then who distributed them? Who did they distribute them to? And as Bryan said, that's quite likely a crime if it was done not for national security reasons. So whether they can pin this as a crime on someone, this is a scandal big enough that I don't like the idea of adding gate to everything. But this is Obamagate. This was using the tools of our government against your political opponents. That is something that we can't tolerate, as Bryan said.
All right, real quick, Bryan.
Well, here's the bottom line. We have to also investigate these ties and connections between President Trump, his associates, and the Russians.
Well, they're doing
that. That's critically important. We've got to do both.
They came out of the hearings on Monday. We know that continues, but this other part of it is really intriguing, and it felt perhaps that James Comey sort of brushed it aside or brushed it under the table. And by the way, he was summoned to the White House today amidst all of the other stuff that was going on.